My name is Tanika Robinson. I'm the Senior Director of K-12 Partnerships with CareerWise New York, and I'm going to be joined by our partners in our school district who will be talking about how we've been able to collaborate in actually executing this project across a pilot of our schools in the New York City system. Just to kind of put things in context here, I know a lot of the conversation leading up to today has been focused on our industry partners, which we know is very important in the work that we're doing in trying to place our young people in opportunities that can lead to careers. But we need to be mindful of the work that needs to be done in our school systems and how we socialize this with school leaders, with the teachers who are actually working with young people so that they have the foundational skills so that when they do go into these workspaces, that they're equipped with the skills and knowledge to make them successful. We're going to just start off with some introductions, and then we will lead into a very engaging panel discussion with some of our partners who are a mix of school leaders, work-based learning coordinators, and teachers who are actually implementing our curriculum. We do have 58 schools that are in this pilot. We are in our second year, so you'll definitely be able to hear a wide range of perspectives as to how they've been implementing this, some of the successes and challenges, and just firsthand experience about how they've been working with CareerWise New York. So on that note, I will start off here with the first panelist.
Good afternoon. My name is Jacqueline Drummond, and I'm from the Women's Academy of Excellence, and I'm the Work-Based Learning Coordinator.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marie Prendergast. I'm the founding principal of the High School for Youth and Community Development at Erasmus Hall. And the school is entering its 20th year. I was a lot younger when it opened. Thanks.
Hey, I'm Ted Hamilton. I'm the Work-Based Learning Coordinator for the High School for Youth and Community Development at the Erasmus Hall. Thank you.
And we will have another principal joining us once she finds parking, which is always a New York City challenge. And in the meantime, we'll pass it over to our partner in the New York City Public Schools.
So nice to meet everybody. Thank you so much for being with us here today. Like Tanika said, I'm Jessica Simonson. I'm with New York City Public Schools and kind of the other half of this duo. I shouldn't even say half, it's really like a quartet, right? There's so many partners in this partner soup that makes up CRMYA. Yesterday, the summit was kicked off with a panel discussion. If you remember, you were here yesterday. We heard from Jade Grieve, Abby Jo, Marie, and Kirsten Barnett, who are like all of our main partners in this soup, right? So we had New York City Public Schools, CEO Jobs Council, CareerWise, of course, and the City of New York. And so we're really excited to spend some time with you today, tell you a little bit about what is this, what are we all coming together to do, and hear some firsthand knowledge about the work that's happening on the ground. Just for a little bit of background, we talk a lot about the work that CareerWise is doing here at this summit, which of course is instrumental to the work that we're doing. But just to give you a bit of a framework of what CRMYA is, it's career readiness and modern youth apprenticeships. So what we're doing here in New York is we are partnering the modern youth apprenticeship experience with really essential career readiness curriculum that is being rolled out in 9th and 10th grades in our 58 CRMYA schools. So all 9th graders have exposure to a curriculum called Career Exploration, which was developed by another partner in this soup, Big Picture Learning, who some of you may know. They are amazing at culture change in schools. We are working with Year Up, who developed our 10th grade curriculum called Career Development, and that is universal implementation for all 10th graders. And then from that foundational sequence, students can then determine whether or not they are committed and interested in a modern youth apprenticeship. At that point, they will go on to what's called the Pathway Matching course, which was developed by our partners at CareerWise. And that course leads them through the application process to apply for an apprenticeship. So you can see how, although the apprenticeships, right, we all know we cannot provide every single student in New York City with an apprenticeship. Although we're getting there, we're working really, really hard, right? Employer partners, employers, we're working really, really hard. But we also want to make sure that we are rooting our students in kind of this fundamental understanding of what career readiness is, so that if they make that choice with their families and their teachers that this is what they want to go on to, an apprenticeship, that they are prepared and ready to go into that work environment. So having said all that, I'm going to start panel questions. Terrific. Okay, great. Let me grab my notes. Sorry, the microphone throws me off a little, guys. It feels a little clunky, so I apologize. What I actually think would be really helpful is, I know both Ted and Jacqueline both mentioned that they're work-based learning coordinators. I don't know if this is a position that exists outside of New York City. If in some places maybe it does, in some places it doesn't. In some New York City schools it does, in some New York City schools it doesn't. So would either one of you just be willing to take just a quick minute to explain what your role is? That would be really helpful, and how it kind of fits into the CRMYA work.
Okay, so essentially a work-based learning coordinator connects students with career-connected learning, internship opportunities, apprenticeship opportunities, site visits, and you can just go down the list of anything that is connected with real-world opportunities or experience that they can get outside of the school. We try to, I know in New York State, there's a certification for it, and I'm sure there's some equivalent around the country in each state, but we're able to connect students with companies and organizations that can give them an idea of what they want to do after high school. They have a nickname for me in my school. They call me the plug, because and the reason is because you get connected to me, I can connect you with money, essentially, and the real world experience that the students really want, because they have limited experience knowing how their coursework can connect them to their post-secondary life, whether it be college, the military, entrepreneurship, or just work, and my role is to really just sell them on every opportunity that they have to step outside of the school, or in a lot of cases within the school, find out what they're good at or what they're not good at, or where their interests lie. I mean, it's a broad and kind of far-reaching role, but my boss told me one day that, say, Ted, you're perfect for a role in the DOE when we were the DOE. You're perfect for a role in the DOE that they haven't invented yet. I don't know if that was a compliment or not, but I said, yeah. And then she created the position so that I could do this full time. And a lot of schools don't have that. So we've been able to take that, and I've taken the opportunity to provide a lot of opportunities for kids, and I'm sure it's probably the same for you.
Well, it's a little bit different. We embarked on the CRMYA this year. It was a pilot, and we applied for it. It's a new thing for our school. The closest we have had to this is I had started a Montefiore program, a partnership with Montefiore Hospital. So we had girls, and I'm from the Women's Academy of Excellence, let me say that again, in the South Bronx, and it's an all-female school. So we created a partnership with Montefiore, and then I started it, and I coordinated the entire program. This now was going to be a big jump. When we saw the CRMYA, they sent out the letters from this email from the DOE that they're going to do this pilot and you should apply. I was excited. This is what I dreamt of. I wanted to see my students doing far more than just going to the hospital. I wanted them to be exposed to as many careers as possible. I knew it was going to be a life-changing experience. When my principal sent the email to me, I sent her 3 words, No, it was actually more than that. I sent her another email. It says, we can do this. And then she said, okay, you write a proposal, and then the rest is history. So WBL coordinator, I didn't even know what that was. Never know. I never heard a word before. Never heard a term before. I had to ask. I'd go to these office hours that they were having as it was being rolled out, asking, what is a WBL coordinator and what am I supposed to be doing? But technically, I guess it's what I was doing, trying to do the rollout, trying to make the connections, trying to just create this new experience for my students. And I think at the end of the day, I think we did a good job. I think we did
an excellent job. Excellent job. I want to ask Principal Prendergast, how did you prepare your school for this initiative? Was there anything that already existed in your school that made this feel like a good fit? Or how did you communicate with families, teachers? How did you kind of socialize it in your school when you found out about CRMYA?
Okay. Hi, everyone. So I know one thing was I had been anticipating these pilots. They were discussed during when Eric Adams was running for mayor, and they were discussed again after he selected his chancellor. So I knew something interesting was coming down the pike. And as a school, we had been involved prior to the pandemic in the Reimagine initiative. Mm-hmm. And a lot of folks who were in that have now come over to the two pilots are, the CRMYA and Future Ready. Mm-hmm. And so when those proposals were launched, our team was already in place from Reimagine. And in fact, when the pandemic hit and Reimagine closed, they did give us some seed money to start an internship program. So we had been working all along, so it was fairly seamless. Mm-hmm. So when the proposals came out, and this is very, very important, I knew that, a lot of people jumped on Future Ready. That's the larger program that has a lot, funding and all. But I said, I don't want to start in the 11th grade, okay? I want students to experience the trajectory of career-based learning starting in the 9th grade. In fact, I would love middle school, but starting in Summerbridge. There need to be structures in place, experiences in place, so that students are starting to think in very concrete ways and about careers in general, and then specifics and where they fit. And so when we wrote the proposals as a team and submitted them, I knew that the work was going to be insane. And I was delighted to be accepted into both proposals. But I went to Ted and I said, remember that position I told you they haven't invented yet? Well, we're inventing it, And actually, Ted, and this will happen next, Ted has really been the director of work-based learning because he now has a team. We brought in so the other thing we did was we started having town halls with our parents. This is a long process. It's a very long process to get parents inculcated, understanding. Mm-hmm. A lot of parents are like, what do they have for parents? Work-based learning for parents, which is a very good question. And getting the students on board. I just want to add that because we were ready to launch so quickly, and because we knew it, we built a structural trajectory of, the CRMYA moving into Future Ready. Last year was an insane experience of trying to get all the moving parts. I don't know how Ted and I did it, but you know what? This year it's been so much more seamless, and also it blew up the school. It took time. And a lot of students, and we'll talk about this later, who sat on their hands last year, they want in now. Because we had to prove ourselves. And I get that. Mm-hmm. So if I keep talking, I'll keep talking. So I have to hand the mic over.
No, that's excellent. Thank you so much. It is a process.
Speak to my school?
Yeah. Do you have anything to add to that, Jen? Go ahead. Sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead.
For our school, everything was new. We had never done anything like this before. So this was just totally new. I think the first time we really started planning was they had the public school in September, we all had to gather for this meeting. And they said, sit down and start planning what you think a rollout would look like. And that's when we really started planning. Thankfully, my principal, she wasn't at that meeting, But she was really on board with a lot of things we went back with, the ideas we had. We said we have to get the parents. But the first persons we talked to, this is new. Our school had never done anything like this before. The first group of people we decided that we needed to get on board was the teachers. We had a whole PD just for the teachers. We had a big rollout. We had walk-on music. We had lights dimming, and then we had excerpts from the speech from the mayor on September 12th and from the chancellor. And we made a big thing. We just didn't get the cake. We wanted to have cake too, but we didn't get the cake. But we had a big rollout, and then somebody from CareerWise, our liaison, who we met just then, Donovan Plummer. We probably met him a week before. He came and he was able to answer questions. But a lot of questions that were being asked, we couldn't answer them. We had never done anything like this before. But we got the teachers excited about it. And then after that, we said, once we get the teachers, we can make the buzzword in classes. Just start speaking about it. And then a few weeks after that, we did the pitch. So Donovan came in, or from CareerWise, he made the pitch with the kids. The kids are now, we had a 9th and 10th grade town hall. The kids are now getting excited. The 11th and 12th grade students are getting jealous. So that was the first thing. And then we started creating promotional materials. We had a competition among the 9th and 10th graders to be the face. So if you see some of the things we have here, like we had a poster. This was a poster. Come up with, we are looking for students to be the face of our new program. And then from that, kids came, they want to take their pictures, and then we had to select. Many people entered, but we select 4 students who represented the diversity of the school. And then we made a beautiful poster. My principal has it to show. And then we put it up in the school. And then we made my principal, she's a really over-the-top person. She'll be here shortly. But we created T-shirts. Because we said the best way to get the parents to buy in, the next target group are the parents. So we did a big launch in terms of a celebratory launch after Donovan did the pitch. So some weeks later, we did the celebratory launch. And then at that launch, we had the balloons. And we trained certain students. And they became the presenters. The 9th grade students presented on the 9th grade section of it. And the 10th grade students presented to the students, the next town hall with 9th and 10th graders. They were given T-shirts which said CRMYA and says, launch your career at...
I did not get one of those.
Well, I'll soon get you the T-shirts. I'll soon show you the T-shirts. Oh, there they are, in that bag. Oh. Yes.
Yeah, and Jacqueline's not kidding. Like when she says she's put promotional materials, is this your like step and repeat that you did with the kids' faces? Is that what this is?
I think we have the T-shirt. Uh-huh. So every 9th and 10th grade T-shirt student went home with a T-shirt like that. So cute. And then we said we fortunately had a past student who did computer science who works with the school, and she does help me. I tell her what I want to see. We want to see money on the back. So she put the dollar signs on the back with the examples of the places they could work. This is all we just get from the DOE website. We didn't even know this was real. We just put things together and then we created the T-shirts. Everybody was saying, our idea was, if the students get excited, the parents will get excited. Mm-hmm. So the students go home with free T-shirt and they got a pizza party. That's all the 9th and 10th graders. And then we had, then we created brochures to send home to the parents. And so we see it starts with once in a lifetime opportunity with all these QR codes that lead to different things about the program. And then we went from that. And when we sent home a letter to the parents, translated in all the languages to represent Arabic, French, Spanish, Bengali. And we sent them home to their parents. And then we called a parent meeting. Then the parents came out to find out what's going on. We said, we're building excitement. We're going to do it step by step. Don't send everything at the same time. They're going to see the T-shirts. Right. Then they see the brochures. Then they get the letter. Then we say, come. Right. And we're going to serve food. And then, so we had a lot of buy-in. That's how we did our build up, the buy-in. And then because it was now infused and we explained to the parents, it's now in the spring, it would be a part of everybody, all the 9th and 10th graders will be doing this new curriculum.
It's a process.
Yes, it's a process.
It's a process. And, we talk often, and Ted made a joke about like when the DOE was called the DOE. For those of you who are in New York, you know we've been the BOE, we've been the DOE, now we're NYCPS. So we'll be something else in 2 years. It's fine. It's fine. We just go with the flow. But everything in the DOE, NYCPS moves quickly. And so taking that time to get that buy-in is essential, but we don't always have that time. So congratulations on finding it. I'm going to turn it over to Tanika for your next question.
We're going to be like the Bobbsey twins going up and down. No, but I wanted to follow up on what you and Mary were speaking about when you're talking about getting your school cultures socialized around this model. And you mentioned that there's also Future Ready. And just to put into context for all of you, we have a myriad of career-connected learning programs that are offered in our high schools. In what ways did CareerWise New York help in you getting this socialized with your teachers, with your students, and with your families? Because as intermediaries, we are on the school grounds with you in helping to do this culture change in your schools.
I think I'll take that first because we are new and we needed a big culture change. And I would say CareerWise really stood by us. We got one of the best, I think we got the best liaison from CareerWise. His name is Mr. Donovan Plummer. Everybody needs to get him, but he's ours. And we have to say he turned up, he did the pitch. When we say we needed to speak to the parents, he was there. He turned up in person to speak to the parents. We said we needed to speak to the teacher because we don't fully understand what's going on, but you know a little bit more. He was there. When the kids were making their pitch videos to send out, he gave us a lot of advice and was there. So even if you were to look at one of our promotional pictures, if you saw this is our timeline. We made a whole timeline of everything that we did. And right here, you'll see him standing with the ninth and 10th graders in a picture at one of his meetings with the students. And so I think we got a lot of support. Joy right there helped me plan trips. So we found out that when we called, somebody was always there to help us. And we were really thankful for that because as we rolled out, this was new. We need a lot of support. And we got it.
Would you run the question by us, like, the culture change?
Yeah, and having all this culture change, how do we support in that effort?
Okay, so I'm going to have Ted really answer this, but CareerWise provided the curriculum and the training to the teachers. Yes, they did. Excuse me. And that freed us up to, first of all, providing a model for a curriculum that is focusing on I see the trajectory as career exploration, career development, career readiness. And it follows closely the college readiness trajectory. Anyway, let me hand this to Ted because he can speak deeply about the steps he took on his own. One thing I want to say, and you know this already, is the work-based learning coordinator, it's almost like becoming an APO, really, assistant principal of organization. I mean, he has to tell our APO what to do, how to program, it's a very, very vast job. But I'm so grateful because Ted and I are able to really team up in different ways to make things happen. I just wanted to put that plug in. Okay, go ahead, Ted.
So our contact with CareerWise is Delia Bloom, and she has come up to campus and supported our teachers and supported the students in helping them with their applications, their videos. I mean, yesterday, speaking of students that were activated after they started to see the results of the program, we have this student. She's great, but she's flown under the radar. Her name's Suni Jordan. I'm just throwing her name out there in case y'all might be hiring her. She's great. Okay. Suni Jordan. So Suni was in there. She must have gone through about 6 or 7 versions of her video with Delia. And, we had other students in there helping her out. And now they're seeing the opportunities. And they were underclassmen. And the more, it's almost like a critical mass that you create. But that's part of building the culture, is that the other students have to see the results. And for students, it's less about the actual experience or the job skills or everything. They want to know big picture. They want to know, how much money did you make? Do you feel like, it's more of a feeling for students. Do you feel like you learned something? Yeah, I know that now I know why I go to this class or why I go to that class. Or we talked about it in this class and now I'm doing it on the job. I think the biggest help was after the summer prep program that the apprentices had before they came back in the fall. Helped them to be able to sell the program to other students because they were able to. They get on Instagram and they would say, well, I was down so-and-so place in Manhattan, or I was doing this. And, these are kids from the borough. So when they get a chance to come to Manhattan, it's like, oh, wow, you rode on the subway. Because these are bus kids. They're not subway kids. Parents don't usually put their kids on the subway. They feel the subway is not as safe, but they usually put them on the bus. I guess they feel like they can just run off the bus and run into the street. But in the subway, they're kind of trapped. But these kids come back and they tell the other students that, yes, I'm on the subway, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm going down to these offices, I'm working with real people and real jobs and accountants and business people. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But Marie always calls it a surround sound of work-based learning opportunities. And that's what we've been able to create, is a surround sound, because we have the curriculum, we have, and then we have the outlets. The students have something that they can actually do that's tangible, and they can go back and tell their friends, because really they're going to sell the program.
Yeah.
They're the ones who sell it, because we can talk to the ends of the earth, and we're just like, Charlie Brown teacher, It's just womp, 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 womp. And they're not going to get it from us. And so it's the other students that sell it. So if anything, I wish we had like a little mini apprenticeship program for 9th and 10th graders to kind of show them what it can be like. Fortunately for us, because we started during COVID with the work with Reimagine, we do sort of had a little bit. We have a partner that does provide internships, quote unquote, to 9th graders. And then they have more robust opportunities for 10th graders, and then it goes on and on from there. Because of the work we've been able to do, we've been able to get students in places that they could never imagine. So I call this at the top of the pyramid. Whatever you're doing in your school, your apprenticeship program is the top of the pyramid. And you don't necessarily have the numbers, but the impact is there. And when other students see that, bro, you going to this job for the next 3 years? Yeah, man, I'm doing my thing. I might not even have to go to college, knowing they'll probably will eventually wind up in somebody's school. But when you tell a high school student that they can have a career and they don't have to go to college, everybody wants to sign up. But sign me up to yesterday. And that's what this program does for us.
I just want to say it's our way of tricking them into college, because because what happens is, as you have these experiences and you realize that you need more than just certification in something, that college is necessary. But by then, you've built up the social capital, you've grown up more, and you start to see things more concretely. One of the fascinating things about young teenagers, and I happen to have one as a son, and they start out either with super big dreams or nothing, and then their feet start to go to the ground. And watching that in my 14-year-old, he's about to be 15, and he's starting to recognize he might not be a professional volleyball player, or and I tell him, go for it, keep going for it, and you're gonna figure out things as you go along. But that's why the fun part of career exploration and the incentives have to be there early. Okay. And in fact, today we talked about designing, and I'm going to be calling you about this, designing our summer bridge, our freshman orientation around either, a stipended mini capstone project or workplace challenge. Why wait? Make it fun, make it something appropriate for freshmen. And I'm so glad I can figure that out on the ground because I have one at home. But something that they can do, and you will have, again, that experience that brings all of this down to the ground, which is what the kids need. And the other thing is I want to also reinforce messaging is everything. And actually last year, one of the things we went through is we were lucky enough in Principal for the Day, which all principals should engage in. We got the guru of communications, Michael Mislansky. And he came in and he spent the entire day. He only was supposed to be there for an hour or two, spent the entire day. And he developed a workplace challenge for us, which is how do we take the messaging from DOE, I'm calling it the DOE, I don't care, and then make it real for kids. And so we pulled together a group of students, and we met at his offices, very fancy offices in downtown Manhattan. And the kids were unbelievable. And we came up with this process for bringing the language down to earth. So, and the kids said hilarious things like, if I hear the word authentic one more time, like, what does it mean? Like stuff. And we really learned. And then we actually looked at the messaging. And I'm going to be giving David Banks a call and saying, listen, let me send you my students and let them re-message this. So, because the students really sell it. They really, really do. And, teenagers are no different from adults. They're not going to pour their commitment into something until they know it's worth their while. So, anyway, thank you.
No, Mary, I appreciate the insight that was offered here because it definitely lets us know, like, from the student perspective, what is relevant in that messaging. And you had mentioned something, Ted. I'm going to call you Tom, regarding students who may not want to go to college right away, and this whole idea of creating this culture around apprenticeships. How have you been able to kind of shift that mindset in school, your school, particularly with your students and families? Because we know that many of our schools in the city are college focused. And, this is disrupting, the narrative that you have to go immediately after college, after high school to college. And for a lot of students, they're making that decision without any formalized plan. And then we know the statistics. There's the dropout rate for a lot of students. And, of course, they're incurring all this debt. So with kind of getting students to shift their focus towards this as being another viable option, what has that internal messaging been like with your students and, importantly, with your families, knowing that many communities are first generation and this is something that they really are passionate about?
So, do you mind if I take this? I grew up thousands of years ago in a very traditional setting, and very, I might say, sexist. Like my mom wanted me to be a secretary, and I was like, "Are you crazy?" Traditional stay-at-home mom. I love her to death, and she's still with us. Anyway, so I know firsthand that with my own life experience that you zig and you zag. It's not linear, especially for working class kids. All right, many of our families, it's not linear, and yeah, committing to post-secondary plans is a big commitment financially and in every other way. And so although we've tried to be and are still a college readiness school, I'll say to students all the time, go ahead and zig, but then you're going to zag back to us, and we're here when you're ready to get into that community college or a 4-year school. Go do what you need to do at some point, and we're experiencing this. We have alumni coming back, and they're ready. And they are so much stronger than had they done this right after high school. Because remember, our students, they'll get even the best of the best. We've had students go away to a school, like a SUNY school, and really fall apart because, first of all, there were not many students who look like them in the campus. I mean, can you imagine sitting in SUNY Potsdam? And so there was the loneliness, there's the, unavoidable racism that happens. There is the culture sort of shock. And so, that will, those will always be challenges. But the messaging really is, and I believe deeply in college. I mean, a lot of people in my generation, they ran to Wall Street, they made big money, then Wall Street fell apart after 9/11, and a lot of those men were left unemployed because they did not have college degrees. Tons of certifications that are no longer relevant. And so I'll tell students, you could certify yourself up the wazoo, but at some point, that industry is going to change. And those certifications might not mean as much. And so that's when college is going to, and I know for me just to, I went to undergraduate right away and I had no idea what I wanted to do. And so I got my 4-year degree and I'm very happy I did. And then I zigged and I zigged and I zigged and then I finally zagged in my mid-30s after people told me a million times, go into education, you're a teacher at heart. I was like, oh, okay. And so I started teaching late, but the second I started teaching, I knew I wanted to lead a school, and I was just in the right place at the right time to be able to open a school. And so I tell my story a lot to the students because I'm like, make it happen. Like, throw yourself into these experiences because that's when synchronicity kicks in. That's when things that you don't expect, but that are real opportunities will come your way. And anyway, that's what I wanted to share. Ted, did you want to add to this?
So I guess to answer the question of the question that students have is, what am I going to do after I get out of high school? The key component to this whole structure of work-based learning in high school is post-secondary advisory. Different schools have it set up different ways, but there has to be a connection to the academic, the co-curricular, and the work-based learning environment, and then the college environment so that they can have a full picture of what their options are. I mean, unfortunately, college has become extremely expensive and probably unaffordable for most people, especially the students that we teach, in schools that are like 100%, free lunch, even though New York City does 100% free lunch anyway. But, when you know that you can get it without the New York City mandate, then you know that you're teaching kids that college is going to be a stretch for a lot of them. And they don't want to go into debt because a lot of their parents, they've seen their parents struggle with it. And so we have to give them all the options. And like I said, the apprenticeship option is at the top of the pyramid because it actually is a direct pathway to a career if they can complete the program. But if you have other work-based learning, a surround sound of opportunities, as we say, internships and other things that they can get involved in where they can see what's available out there. New York City has the best city. I know San Francisco would probably argue this, but New York City probably has the best city university system, and it only costs $8,000 a year to go to school here. And I tell my students, I'm like, look, you could work at McDonald's part-time, even though McDonald's is paying a lot these days, and you could pay for your tuition. Most of my students, they go tuition-free to a CUNY because their incomes are low enough that they're going to get that financial aid. But it might still not be the path right away for them. And the apprenticeship program, at least for that group of students, it gives them a pathway and an eye-opening experience to what they can do. And it might actually turn into a career. So your advisory is probably the key component. And it takes it's a programming effort on top with the schools to kind of force your way into having the space in your program to have an advisory. But your advisory is the biggest component to steer the kids in the right direction for them, because every student is going to be different when they graduate.
And I just wanted to mention that my school, in terms of the college, we've always emphasized the importance of college. We have looked at careers and stuff, but many of our parents, the parents from my students, are really interested in their kids moving on to college. So like starting this program, one of the big challenges was, how will this affect my child's college path? And to be quite honest, wanted to try, my thing with apprenticeships, one of the things I love with apprenticeships and internships, it gives kids an idea of what's out there. So we tell the parents they need to know what many go to college and they have to change their major 3-4 times because they're not exposed to much. They don't know much. They see a nurse, a doctor, a lawyer on TV. They see CSI, so they want to become forensic scientists, and then that's all they know. But this now will show them careers. I remember the pitch when Donovan came to do the pitch at my school. They were to write about, they were to check off careers that they were interested. They looked at them, they've never seen these things before. Who's ever heard of a program associate? Who's ever heard of any of these things? They never heard of them. So they were like running around to teachers. What are these? And we're saying, well, just check something. And so it's exposing them to more. But we don't see it as precluding college. I think as they become more aware of what's out there, they'll be more knowledgeable of what they want to do. They'll see more, and they'll have an idea of what they really want to study when they go to college. Because they have seen it, they are now exposed to a lot more careers. They won't be just writing, I want to study business, without having a clue what that means. But no, that's how we sell it to the parents. So that we kind of try to assuage their concerns that their children will not go to college. We say this will probably push them into college and make them more successful in college because they will be more determined and more focused.
There's like so many things going through my brain. I think like this idea of like asking kids, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And it's like, I have no idea what I want to be when I grow up, right? Like, and when you think about education, you think about teaching. Right? We have students who are apprentices with our office at New York City Public Schools who are not teaching. They are doing finance or they are doing HR work. But when we say education, that's what your brain goes towards, right? Because we've told kids that you can be a teacher, a doctor, a whatever, right? A policeman, a firefighter. But like you can work for for FDNY and not have a hose in your hand, right? Not be climbing ladders. You're doing data analysis. You're doing payroll. You're doing all those other things. And so this is a really great opportunity. The other thing I want to highlight is Ted's talking about advising. The advising piece is so critical. When those kids come back from their apprenticeship experience and they walk back into your school and they say, I have all these experiences that I just had. I have this feedback that I got from my supervisor. I don't know how to process it. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to connect what I'm doing in my workplace with what I'm doing in my classroom. That advising component is so crucial. And it's something that here in New York, we're still trying to figure out. How do we make sure that a student doesn't just come home back to school, I say home, right? They come back to their home school and be one of 400 students who have a guidance counselor. Right? But they actually have an advisor, a champion who can make that connection with the apprenticeship and help with that translating. So it just feels, I'm so glad that you brought it up, Ted, because it isn't something we were planning on talking about, but I was like, ooh, very important. I have one last question, and then I want to make sure we leave time for questions in the space. What hasn't worked well? What are the pitfalls?
Okay.
Don't take too much time, but
No, I won't. No,
I'm kidding.
I have to tell you something. I never met a pitfall I didn't like, and I'll explain what I mean. Pitfalls are necessary to anything that you're building from the ground up. What pitfalls teach you is how were we not prepared? What's missing? For example, last year we were like, the same old kids are sitting on their hands. How do we reach them? And that's when we got at our messaging issues and brought students in to help us. So pitfalls are there for a reason, and you can't be cowed by them. You have to really think about, well, what do we do? What do we do about it? So, for example, with one of the big issues that came up with the Modern Youth Apprenticeship is that so few students could get in, right? Employers wanted the cream of the crop, which has been the same old story in public education. Like the top kids get all the opportunities. And it was, so we talked about that. And one of the things we always think about is, where are the diamonds in the rough? Where do we find those diamonds? And, you know, they don't appear until they're ready, and they need to, then their shine comes out. And so that got us thinking about, again, what are the experiences? What are the, what do we do from the ground up, from day one, before they even get into high school, to accelerate that time that, the diamond in the rough decides to emerge? Because those are the kids that we want to see in apprenticeships, and they will come and they will do it. I mean, we've had enough experiences. We were never a screen school. We're a really quirky school with a lot of boys because we have a championship football team.
They just went to London.
Yeah, who just went to London.
Did they win?
No, they lost badly because they were playing a pre-NFL team. But we get tons of scholarships, and we also get tons of posse scholarships. So we've done a lot of really good things. But for the most part, we get a lot of students who come in well under, well below standard in math and ELA, right? And so we know we have our work cut out for us. But it doesn't mean they can't do things. It doesn't mean anything. It just means, where do we start to kind of bring them up and build their confidence and know that they can, not only can they sit at the table, we absolutely need them at the table. We need their perspective. We need to know about their challenges. We need them to guide us so that we can help them. And that's really the key component here. But one of the things I wanted to say about, I would love to say to employers is, be patient with your diamonds in the rough, because you might get a phenomenal employee and someone who will grow with you over time. And don't always go for those shiny apples. I mean, the shiny apples we know, right? But it is, and I was a diamond in the rough for years before I could really nail down where I wanted to go. So that's what I would say. And the pitfall of, if I were to describe a pitfall for the apprenticeship program, is that the kids that are coming out of 10th grade and getting into the apprenticeships are the top-notch kids, right? Mm-hmm. And so our problem at the beginning was, how do we push other kids out front, because they are very capable. And I'll end with one story. I had an alumni come back for my first graduating class, and we've been following each other on Facebook for years. And this was a kid who had, I want you to think about every possible challenge in terms of gangs, violence, drugs, all of that. He was always very brilliant. He was the type of kid who would come to take a Regents exam after being in a suspension center for months, and he'd get in the high 90s. So we knew a lot of mental health challenges, all of that. And then at some point, everything came together for him. And he's getting his business degree in Germany. He speaks German as well as English, and I believe he's also started speaking French. I think he's just about, he doesn't want to be an officer, but he's the rank below officer. And intends to stay in Europe. Sophisticated, a dad. It all came together for him. And, he's my diamond in the rough. He represents the military very, very well. And that's what I would say to employers is, be patient, and be into youth development. The payoff, it just requires time and patience. And I'll end there because I believe in this so much.
Thank you. Okay. Pitfalls. Because this was, for us, this was new. Everything was new. So we represent all the schools who never did anything like this before. And so it was overwhelming. It was very fast. It was a lot. The curriculum that we got, which was good, but it wasn't moving as fast as, say, we didn't reach how to do interviewing when we heard that pitch videos needed to be ready. So teachers were always having to change what they had to do, moving quickly to adapt to whatever is happening. So it became a lot of work for us, but we were very thankful that our teachers were very adaptable. We met every week to speak about the issues that we were facing, and then we went quickly to implement for the students. And again, we had a lot of support from CareerWise. Other pitfalls that we had, we didn't realize that the students had to be Microsoft ready until the summer program. And we never used Microsoft because all the schools are using the Google Suite. Mm-hmm. So this was a big switch. And then the kids were sending messages. We have a group chat for everybody who became an apprentice. And they were like crying in the Excel classes.
Pivot table. Better do a VLOOKUP.
And I was there sending them all the Excel for dummy videos I could find, and Excel for kids to try to help them. And so it was. So we think that if we were kind of more aware of what was coming up the pipe, we could have done more to prepare them for even the summer. Yeah. We need help with switching now. Now we're talking about we need to switch, because I think one of the things that this program has shown us as the kids go out into the working world, what we should be doing in the classroom. Mm-hmm. That's what we're learning. Mm-hmm. Why aren't we doing Microsoft Suite in the classroom if that's what they're required to do when they go to work? Yeah. Why are we using the Google Docs when nobody uses it outside? So that's what we're looking at now. Yeah. How do we switch? How do we change everything so that we are more ready? Our students, not only the kids who get apprenticeships, but everybody is ready for when they go out to get a job. Those are the things we are now asking ourselves. Mm-hmm. And those are, so we thought that we want to do more to help our students to be ready. We were blessed. Our students weren't only everybody, all the 10th graders were invited, and everybody was excited. We had a big launch. So everybody was excited to do their pitch, their videos. And I was very pleased to see the mix of students who got apprenticeships. We have a student who can hardly speak English. I can't even believe. She did her video. She could hardly speak a word of English, but she managed to put her video together. She passed through her 2 interviews, and now she went, and now she's working with the law department. And she said the first day she got there, because every time she got an email, I had to go through everything. She said, "Miss, what does this mean?" And we go through everything, and we line up all the forms. And she said on her first day of her job, she came back, she was just so happy. She said she speaks Bengali. And she said they brought somebody who could speak Bengali to meet me. And she cried.
That's so nice. There is so much information and knowledge right here. Thank you so much for being willing to answer all our questions. We have about 5 minutes left. If we have, we have a question right off the bat. Let's go.
Yes, first of all, thank you all. You've been great. Appreciate everything you said. In line with being a principal, so in our county, in the state, we understand that graduation requirements is a career pathway. So the superintendents know it, the principals know it, the information is slowly filtering down within the system, but there's no movement. So from a decision maker standpoint, what would be some very practical, logistical steps to get the needle moving for what everybody knows, but the parents don't know and the students don't know? So what did you actually start to implement in decision making so that the WBL CareerWise was actualized?
Well, again, once we knew we had the support in terms of being, accepted into the Modern Youth Apprenticeship pilot, and because we were lucky to have already had an infrastructure in place, we were able to move quickly in stages. So the first thing was quite frankly, getting the staff on board, and I mean everyone. We already had an advisory where every adult, including myself, had a caseload of kids, and so we wanted to filter these opportunities through our advisory network. And then Ted put together multiple PowerPoints to bring the staff on board and the teachers, because with the staff as a whole, it's the advising part, but with the teachers, it's what's happening in the classroom. And then slowly but surely, and it still is a process, we brought the parents on board with town halls. A lot of our parents still prefer remote meetings, but that started to characterize our conversations with the parents. And like everything else, it's from parents whose children went through workplace challenges and came home with these nice little paychecks, that word spread, right? And parents were very interested, and then from there, and I would say, listen, your child went through this experience, I need you to help me spread the word. So more students, because really the way this works is a child can have one experience a semester, and so that there's a chance for everybody. But that was really it. It's like a progression of communication outward. Like, Ted, do you want to, or would you like to?
I think we were blessed to just have a principal who really, she saw the vision, and she knew it was one of my passions for many years. And we, like my colleague says here, we wanted, communication is the key. Having a principal who actually sees it, that's the first thing you need to have. A principal who really wants to see big changes. And then that covers a multitude of things. And then going out and communicating with our parents. We have a women's empowerment class. I'm from a all-female school. So our women's empowerment class, which is technically our advisory class, is where we start pushing the needle now among the students, and that's where we spread it right throughout the school. Yes.
We'll just take one more question. Go ahead.
Okay. My question is for the plug. So Ted, something you said really stuck out with me, and you said students have to see the bigger picture. And so one of the professional development workshops I recently went through was by J.P. Michelle, and he talks about the challenge mindset and thinking about our systems in a reverse engineering way, where young people uncover their passions through purpose and connection.
Yes.
Then we reverse engineer and determine what are the degrees and pathways.
Yes.
I'd like to ask you how you engaged your youth in determining their purpose and connection. Loaded question.
Yeah, that's a hard one right there.
Repeat the question for those of us in the back. Hi.
Yeah. Could you just repeat it? I can't get it verbatim.
How did you determine or engage your students in their purpose and connection? In purpose to plug in their connection, rather.
Well, maybe I don't know if I have a high level answer for that, but basically what I did was just try to get them connected to the opportunity and just get them out there interacting with people outside of the school. And then they're going to eventually discover their purpose, when they discover their purpose. And I always tell them, I did not really land in my purpose until I was 37 years old. But I was connected to a lot of things. I mean, I'm in my third career and my second sub-career in the DOE. So my purpose and their purpose will be found in a longer process than what they'll have in their education, or maybe even their 20s. They'll eventually find it, but they have to be connected to the opportunities. Mm-hmm. And our job is to educate them well enough so that they have more opportunities than they feel that they need. Because they say one thing, I want to do this, I want to do that. But bro, you need to take that math class. Right. And if you don't take that math class, then that even if you go to college, that course catalog or that list of majors in the school, you just knocked it down 50% because you're not going to be able to access that opportunity. So just keep connecting them to different opportunities. And, the apprentices are one thing. They can commit, but most of your kids aren't going to be able to necessarily commit. And that's why you have to have the surround sound of other opportunities that they can do, workplace challenges, internships. We have, our site visits on steroids, college visits. You just have to keep pushing them out. And you create the program around the connections, and then they will find the purpose.
I want to add one quick thing. I remember several years ago having a discussion with a venture capitalist. And I don't know how it came up. I must have asked him what he looks for. And he said to me, you know who I like to hire? English majors. I said, that's interesting. I wish I knew that when I went to school. And I asked him why. And he said, I can teach anyone finance. He said, I can teach the technical aspects of what I do. But what I can't and what I don't want to do is teach them how to read industry literature, how to write to it, and how to communicate in public. He said, that's where I see education is providing students with those skills. And then they could do what they want, really. And so I ran back to my school, I ran back to my students, and I said, that's why you have to sit in English class. And so it really is, CareerWise provides a foundation for the career learning, but infecting the core subjects is what's needed now. It's like what's happening in your average English class or algebra class, and where are those connections being made concretely in these core subjects? Thank you.
No, thank you. And I just want to give a round of applause for our panelists. They were so engaging, offering a range of perspectives about how they're partnering with CareerWise New York in this work. And I do want to close out by saying that our partnership with New York City Public Schools is really the nucleus of our work. To do this work on such a large scale, we're doing it now with 58 schools, but the goal is to have this with all schools, and we have over 500 schools. So you can imagine the need for it to diversify how we implement this, being very attuned to the needs that each of our schools have, and how can we effectively bridge our industry and our academic stakeholders, because as you've heard, there's going to be a need for left hand and right hand to know how to work together to make this work effective. So want to publicly thank Jessica Simonson, because we can't do this work without New York City Public Schools, and we hope that you were able to get some insightful tidbits from this hour.